Father, as we gather together as County Commission, we ask your blessing upon this meeting. Guide us in the decisions we make for the county. We give thanks for the small amount of rain we had last night. Lord, we ask for more. It's kind of dry in this part of the world, as you know. Be with the people in this room, Lord. Grant us good health. Guide us in our daily lives and bless us in the days to come. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dwayne. I'm sorry it didn't rain enough for a happy dance.
No happy dance. You told me I couldn't do that again.
Yeah, we saw the last, no,
Good morning, everyone. Welcome you to this meeting, and I have no other opening comments. The consent agenda, I understand we need a little change by motion, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pay the consent agenda
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
second.
And any discussion? Not all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Consent agenda is approved as amended. Now, our regular agenda, we need to remove two items, so please note that the Finney County Law Library request can be removed from this agenda, and also the Horse Thief Reservoir report, and that'll come at a future meeting. So those two can be removed. We need to add two executive sessions for non-elected personnel, and we can do that toward the end of the agenda, and they'll be relatively short. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve an amended agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That also carries. Public comment, a time for anything not on the agenda. Anyone have anything they'd like to address? The quiet public. Okay.
We don't have staff here yet.
You want-
Okay, I guess, never mind. So I'm looking for Alicia.
Okay. Lana, it is your place to proceed forward and share with us your wisdom, okay?
Good morning. I did send you an IBARF, if you will, on this request. Michael Snodgrass has got an option to purchase property on North 3rd Street and has applied for USDA funding to build a total of about 300 units, duplex units, possibly building some fourplexes in, but most likely just sticking with the duplexes, and a community center that would also be placed in the kind of the middle of that development to allow for a space, meeting space, possibly even a child care facility would be able to co-locate in there. The way that the USDA is authorizing their funding now, they're doing it more similar to HUD, which means nothing to you all, but it's sped the process somewhat. So the approval comes in, he'll find out at the end of May, 1st of June, and then has to have the final submittal in to actually qualify for the funding by August 1st. So it's a quick turnaround, and all of the engineering, platting, all of that has to take place before that August 1st deadline. In most communities of any size that Mr. Snodgrass builds in, the community actually holds a fund. Either the city or the county holds a fund where they are able to loan those pre-development funds for the, again, engineering, platting and such that goes on before the final construction loan is actually granted. We don't have that. Neither the city of Garden City nor Finney County have a fund like that. So what we're asking is that you consider loaning him those funds from the deal closing fund, which is, as you know, joint funds held by the county, but contributed to by both the city of Garden City and Finney County each year. And that's his request.
And in the interest of transparency, I have visited with Lana before this meeting about this project and taken an opportunity to share that with one commissioner, and that would be Commissioner Grease. Not able to share it with anybody else because of the open meetings prospects, but I had a couple three questions for Lana. I'll pose those again in the interest of transparency. This sets a precedent of sorts, but tell us that in the past, we've used the deal closing fund for grants or for some other purposes, but not a loan, correct?
Correct. To date, you've utilized the funds for a job creation incentive fund. We did a job creation incentive for Texarkana and then did one for Worthington as well. And the only other use that we've come to you for was a fire suppression system for Canamac. When Canamac Hydraulics did an expansion, they opted to go that route in lieu of doing a tax abatement on their expansion. They simply asked that the county assist with their fire suppression system. So that's what it's been used for in the past.
And in this case, Lana, I'll make one more point and then turn to the fellow commissioners. The surety is 43 acres pledged against a $125,000 loan, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And is the 43 acres free and clear, or does it have a mortgage on it?
It will not have a mortgage until the final construction loan goes in. So, yeah, your lien will be in place before that final construction loan.
Appreciate your answers. Bill, did you have a question?
Yes, I was reading what you provided us on the farm labor housing program, and how does he qualify for that? It looks like you have to house a bunch of agricultural workers. Are we presumed ag workers
Right.
here, and that's
So
what he qualifies?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Commissioner. Any project where folks work in an agricultural-related field, so empirical will qualify. Tyson employees qualify for this program. Truck drivers who drive for agricultural, it is a very broad scope. But pretty much anybody whose job can be tracked to agriculture is qualified to live in this housing.
Does he have to show a certain percentage then afterwards or something, or?
Yes, these are very highly monitored, and they have to fill out and submit records. Every tenant, a potential tenant, fills out a pretty lengthy application that shows who they work for and what kind of work they're engaged in and their income levels. This particular program controls those rents by keeping rent and utilities below a certain percentage of their total incomes.
And I always worry if loans are sought like this, that the developer is not well capitalized. What kind of due diligence do we do on developers like this?
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly request that of him, and we can certainly have him complete some additional information for you. Really, the big challenge with these projects is that he has multiple projects going at once. He builds in a lot of communities. And so currently, for instance, he has a project going in Florida and one going in Nevada. And in those cases, again, most of those communities are large enough that they're able to front those pre-development costs for the developer. So it's really a tool, if you will, that communities utilize to get those projects to happen in their communities by fronting them some of that cash instead of forcing them to have that outlay up front.
Thank you.
Any other, Lon?
I've got several, and Lana, I apologize, because I was checking on a question here I wanted to ask, and so I missed exactly what Bill was asking you. I heard you say something about utilities and so forth, but was that with regard to my question was around the definition of affordable,
Right.
but what rent, I mean, it's going to be based on income, or how do we define affordable, I guess?
In this case, this is truly an affordable housing project. So the rent and utilities are capped at a maximum, I believe it's 40%, it might be 30% of their total income.
What happens then if the rent and if the utilities go above that cap, is that on the developer?
Rent has to be adjusted to make that work then.
The rent
That's-
will have to be adjusted.
These are federal housing programs designed specifically to address these concerns that we have.
So then they're taking into account the income or wages that occupant is? Okay.
Absolutely.
And tied to that, did I hear you say duplexes? Are they all duplexes? Or-
Right now, it's laid out as all duplexes. There's a potential that that would put a couple of fourplexes in if they fit the design better, just to get to the number of units that we need. But most likely, they'll be duplexes with a garage unit attached.
And then again, I apologize if I'm asking a repetitive question, but is it in 2 phases, 3 phases?
He's designed it in 2 phases. First phase would be in this funding round, and then in visiting with the USDA, we've had a couple of virtual meetings actually with his USDA contact, and they've encouraged him to apply for the second half in the very next round. So could build out much quicker than what we typically see in projects like this.
And then my next 2 questions, and it may be tied to Linda and Robert and you. We're talking about using some deal closing funds here. What is in that account, in that deal closing account today? Okay. And then, I know we have the authority if, like we did for Canamac for that suppression thing, but do we have the authority by statute to loan out of that versus using? But we think we could honor the request if we wanted to before that research? And then finally, just a comment, kind of related to a question on the due diligence with regard to the developer. I'm certainly interested in that because I've seen things go south before because due diligence on financial wherewithal is not done. But other than that, I would favor doing this if, in fact, we can do it this way, according to statute and so forth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other, Larry?
These duplexes will be built on slab, I take it.
Slab on grade.
Community center will probably serve as a storm shelter.
No, actually, they design a storm shelter into each duplex. Each side of the duplex has its own. So they put a safe room in one of the interior walls, yeah.
Second question, I kind of thought we'd committed all those funds to that farmland road. Not yet.
Yep. It hasn't been spent. The project's not been done, so.
Is that where
Yeah.
they were coming from? Was from the deal closing? Then that's 950,000.
So I guess it's wherever you
Well,
spend it first is
Yeah,
where
we
it
got
goes.
the shortfall too, but
Yeah.
I think that's what we committed to.
Oh, and you will have repayment on this at the end of the year, so.
This is sort of a chicken and egg analogy here. We need more eggs, so we need to produce more chickens. And we need more workers, but we have to produce some housing. It's something that's needed, that's for sure. So I, at this point, would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I am very reluctant to take action without having that additional research. And I know that they're on a tight time frame. I respect the June 1 to August 1, but we meet again in 2 weeks. And I would suggest, and I would make the motion to table this for 2 weeks.
It would be helpful for the developer if we at least had a consensus that so long as it is legal and he can provide the financials you're looking for, if we could have that much to provide to him so he can continue moving forward, that would be good.
The third piece is we've got to make sure we've got the funds. So there's really 3 pieces to that. So that's my reason for tabling.
Could the motion be that this be approved contingent upon meeting legal muster? And that way we could move it along perhaps a bit more quickly.
Yes, that could be the motion, but I would also suggest that it's reviewed by this board prior to execution of it, which would be the next meeting.
Okay, so
Well,
Then-
I think my motion has died for lack of a second, so somebody
you
could,
wanna make that motion a table?
somebody else can make another motion.
That would die.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve this amount for a loan, subject to legal review and fund procurement.
Have a motion, is there a
I will
second?
second that one.
Motion second, any discussion?
I think we would like to see it in 2 weeks. Is that my understanding? We'll move this forward with staff, but then we'll see it back here at our next meeting. And we can communicate to the
That's our
developer.
consensus understanding?
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay,
The head's nodding, so.
all right. And found any other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay, and only because I'm uncomfortable approving it ahead of time.
And that motion carries 4-1.
Thank you.
Alicia, come forward, please. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
If you don't mind, would you, yeah, thank you.
All right, good morning. The first case I have before you is FC 2020 PA-26. It's the Magnum Edition. It's located at 1055 East 6 Mile Road. So what they're doing is they're making 2 lots out of this. There's a building on one lot that they have built for ag purposes, and then on the second lot, there's a house that they have built. So they want to take it out because they have separate owners. There's different partnerships between the person that owns the house and the building, and then the people that own the farmland that's surrounding it, which is why they want to split this in 2. They've got 2.99 acres and 5.42 acres, which they can do. It's going to be ag. It can stay ag so long as they don't do anything different with the property, which I don't know that they have any plans to at the moment. So if they decide to move forward with any future development, they will have to rezone whichever lot that they develop on. So if it's the house, we would suggest they go real residential, just because it's a little bit more open on what they can do, animals that they can have. And then if they wanted to do something different with the property that has the building on it, we would probably suggest rural industrial. And that's really it. They can, like I said, they can divide the land as is and stay ag, so long as they don't do anything else on the property at the moment.
I missed the planning commission meeting where this was discussed, and for that I apologize. But the picture we have before us right now is showing a corner of an irrigated circle. Has what acreage in it?
They're dividing it into 2 lots. If you scroll down to the next one, you'll see they've got lot 1 is the one that has the building on it, and then lot 2 is the property that has the house on it.
Those typically in a quarter section circle have about 7.2 acres out there in that corner, so this one's undersized.
Well, this is about 8 acres, 5.4 and 2.3,
It's close.
so.
But it's leading me to my next and maybe final question, dealing with septic systems and kind of the position the county commission's taken in the past over these small acreages.
Yes, so I know that it's been discussed and it's not been changed in our subdivision regulations, so if that's something we want to stick to, where they be 5 acres, then we would need to move forward in amending our zoning regulations and our subdivision regulations and our environmental code, because in the environmental code and the subdivision regulations, they only have to be 2 acres to have the ATU septic system. And that's only if they're, on water well and septic.
And that septic system is still indicated on their deed or their land ownership file, correct?
Correct.
Any other discussion? Questions?
This is still designated as agricultural then, even though the house is on it, the small ag-?
Yep, yep. It'll still be, the zoning can stay as is, just like any other land if they divide it and it doesn't meet the minimum. As long as they don't do anything additional to it, it can stay as is. But if they want to add, in the future, say they want to add a 30 by 40 building, we'd want them to rezone that to rural residential, so that it would conform with the zoning regulations.
How do we want to handle it, guys?
I'll move, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Clifford, I'll move to approve the parcel plat and the Magnum edition that is before us.
Would you restate that, please, Bill? I'm sorry.
Moving to approve the parcel plat, Magnum edition.
And I would say.
Alternative one.
Alternative one, yes, the approval.
Second.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, the next case I have before you is FC 2021-11, which is an amendment to the zoning regulations regarding accessory use restrictions. So currently in the county, it states that no accessory building shall be used for dwelling purposes. And I believe that's just because we run into, the county's not really a multi-family scenario. Mr. Stuckey has come with the amendment that we allow accessory structures to have to be used as a dwelling unit, as a guest house, but that would only be properties in the county that are hooked to sewer and water, a sewer and water district. So if they were on a septic and connected to rural water, they wouldn't be allowed for it. They have to be connected to both a sewer district and a water district, either public or private. And I have attached a map for you guys to see. It'll show the areas in green are the only areas that are connected to water and sewer. So anything in those areas would be allowed to have a guest house on their property. But they would need to connect to the existing utilities from their house. So we wouldn't allow them to have a separate water electric meter for their guest house. And I know there is Southwind that's in that. Anything that has an HOA, they would have to get their HOA approval. And we would put that on their building permit if they came in, that they would need to have approval from their HOA first. Mr. Stuckey is here if you do have questions for him. I do want to point out, when we went to the Planning Commission, we originally had it as a mother-in-law guest house. However, after talking with legal counsel, she suggested that we use the term just guest house instead of mother-in-law and guest house, and that we also add the definition of a guest house in our definitions in the zoning regulations, because we currently don't have one. So our term would be a detached accessory building used to guests of the occupants of the principal structure, and which is never rented or offered for rent.
Questions, discussion?
Oh, go ahead.
What I'm understanding is, see, I have a farmer 25 miles from Garden City, owns the quarter of ground. He's not allowed to build a guest house next to him because he's on his private well, septic system.
Yes, however, if you are zoned to ag and you do have the 40 acres or more, they do allow for additional housing on the property currently.
When he goes to the bank and gets the loan and they say they want 5 acres.
That's what causes our problem.
Yes.
Kind of got a problem here. You've heard that before.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and I think, pardon me, Mr. Chairman, I think that was a little bit of our discussion with the last waiver that we granted, because it was actually for a family member with health conditions and so forth and so on. So I respect what you're saying. With that being said, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve this amendment with the changes and the definition of guest house.
Okay,
Clifford seconds.
we have a motion second. Any discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes.
Well done, Steve.
Mr. Stuckey did well. What else do you have, Alicia?
Okay, the last request I have is for assistance from the governing body. We've got a couple properties located at 7084 and 7090 South Highway 83 and 120 West Annie Shear Road. We've come before you because they are wanting to split the lots to be, in a sense, smaller. It's kind of confusing because they're kind of moving them around, but they would sort of be the same. However, as staff, we don't feel comfortable signing this plat because it is an administrative plat. There's no dedication, so it wouldn't need to come before you. Currently, they've got lot sizes of 1.54 acres, 0.36 acre, and 2.0 acres. And they are proposing that they kind of move it around to be 1 acre, 2.4, and 0.7. Now, the reason is they want to reconfigure it so that one of the owners can build a building on the property. However, they are connected. They do have their own septic tanks. Each property has their own septic and a well. 2 properties do share a well. So as staff, since it goes against our environmental code and our zoning regulations for the minimum lot size of 2 acres, with them being on septic, we've come before you for direction on what you would like to see. So the lot that's blue, it's currently the 0.36 acres. They're wanting to add the building to that lot. However, they want to make that lot 2.4 acres. And their surveyor is here too to answer any questions that you may have. So really all of the properties except for one are non-conforming, and they want to further continue the non-conforming. So they wouldn't really be bringing any but one lot into conformance with the environmental code and our subdivision regulations.
Go ahead, Bill.
I just had a question on that 120 Annie Shear Road, which is going to be referred to as Lot 1, I guess. Right now, that has a large, odd frontage on 83, and they're preserving a small frontage, 51 feet plus, I think. But it looks like the thought is there might be access to 83 there, but it makes no sense. They're not going to get that from the state. Why is that flag, so to speak, left on that lot?
He has a well in that section, is the only reason he's keeping that portion.
Okay, that explains it. Thank you.
Cornerstone is his company. You're Ken, you're there close by. You have or have not had conversation with KDOT over all of their plans for down that direction?
I have not, and the owner has not.
It would be revealing to you, I think, if you had a chance to. We got an opportunity Thursday, and I don't know how their meetings, they had an online edition that they advertised there, but
The 6th.
That's this Thursday evening.
it sure would behoove you to have a look, 'cause they've got some,
I know there were,
yeah,
plans in that area.
thank you. Well, what do we?
Mr. Chairman, just a comment from Dr. Clifford. I realize we're non-conforming. We're going to get one of these into conformance, and it's just shuffling the deck for this property owner, so I personally don't have any objection.
Okay, that is a reluctant motion and a more reluctant second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, I got Mr. Stuckey here. I commend you for bringing this. I think your building association, when you find stuff like this that doesn't make sense, I really appreciate you guys trying to fix it and get some of this stuff changed. So I appreciate what you've done here today, Steve.
So, yes, ma'am.
That would be it. The only other thing is if you would like staff to do more research into the minimum acreage, that would be something we can look into, but right now they are, with our environmental code and our subdivision regulations, newly subdivided land only has to be 2 acres.
Anything else? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Maria, your item shouldn't take very long, so why don't you step up and let's consider your.
Call him and he'll either walk me through it or we'll kind of talk stuff through. So, yeah, since I think before reappraisal or right at the start of reappraisal. So yeah, he's been with Finney County for a long time.
Question that comes up periodically, is there anybody else out there that offers a service that might be well served to be afforded an opportunity to bid?
Well, you have landmark appraisals that usually does like, I think they do Grant. They do the smaller, like Haskell County, Lakin, and all those smaller counties. But landmark appraisals usually has like the staff, and usually the staff at landmark appraisal is the one that is the county appraiser.
Okay. Tell me that I'm not hearable, I'll pull that a little closer. Sorry about that, folks. All right, we have a kind of a routine item, go
Well,
ahead.
just a question. I didn't see it, and I apologize if I missed it, but this, the contract dollar amount, is that the same as in the past, or is that an increase over last?
It's been that way for a long time. He periodically does an increase, but it's minimal, and it's usually 10 years or so, something like that. So,
All right, that was the only thing I hadn't seen, so. Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve this contract with Holly and Associates.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do you need a quick break, or you doing okay?
It's 9 o'clock, not 10 o'clock.
Well, I realize, but
I
you're
appreciate that, though.
looking out after you. Colleen's not here yet. So we have a couple executive sessions. Why don't we, I would accept a motion for an executive session not to exceed 15 minutes for non-elected personnel. That would include the county commission and our director of public works.
Council.
Oh, and council, I'm sorry, yeah.
And council.
Yeah, and
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we shall be back here at about 21 minutes after the hour. We're back from executive session and no action was taken. And with that, Colleen, where are you? I saw you there. Come forward. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I'm looking for this proclamation. Well, I tell you, if it's here, there it is, I'm sorry. I apologize to you. We have a proclamation, so at the correct time, I would like permission to read that if all of your folks at the health department are online.
Oh,
Are they there? Well, good morning, folks at the health department, and I'll read our proclamation. We're happy to share this. The Board of County Commissioners, Finney County, Kansas, proclamation. Whereas the week of April 5 through 11, 2021 was recognized as National Public Health Week with the theme Building Bridges to Better Health, and whereas in 1993, the American Nurses Association declared May 6 through 12 as the National Week to celebrate and elevate the nursing profession. And each year, the celebration ends on March 12, which was Florence Nightingale's birthday. And whereas National Nurses Week is a time for everyone, individuals, employers, other health care professionals, community leaders, and nurses to recognize the vast contributions and positive impact of America's 4 million registered nurses, especially during these challenging past years and the pandemic, and whereas the hard-working people who staff our public health department in Finney County and all other health care facilities, including the registered nurses and other personnel, deserve universal regard and appreciation for keeping our community healthy and safer from COVID-19 and other healthcare challenges. Now, therefore, the Finney County Board of County Commission of Finney County, Kansas, do hereby proclaim May 6 through 12, 2021 as National Nurses Week in Finney County, Kansas, and urge residents to express their appreciation for the people, facilities, and the technologies that make trustworthy and reliable public health care and all health care possible in our community. And our thanks go to you and to your people, Colleen. So with that, I'll be happy to have the floor.
well, thank you very much. I know my people at the health department greatly appreciate the recognition for the hard work that they've put in over the last year. Thanks for making me cry again. Really proud of all the work that they have done, all the hard work and all the crazy hours that everybody has put in over the last year. So really proud of the group that we have there. So thank you very much. I'm sure they all very much appreciate it. It's great to see all their faces here on the screen. Great job, guys. Thanks for all the hard work that you do. Thank you. All right. So thanks for the opportunity to speak with you on the continuation of COVID-19 in Finney County. I'm pleased to report in overall numbers and provide an update regarding vaccination distribution in Finney County. So the data today that I'll be sharing with you was updated on Friday evening. We'll release a news situation report here at the end of the day with updated numbers. And there will be a slight difference in what I'm reporting this morning, as we will have another release today that will be updated. So there are currently 24 active cases, 6,048 total positive cases, and 11,391 total negative cases. One individual is currently hospitalized at St. Catherine Hospital with COVID-19. 49 Finney County residents have passed away due to the virus. We continue to remain at a community risk level of low, and are grateful for the work our community has done to slow the spread of COVID-19. We encourage our residents to continue to play an active part in keeping our numbers low and practice preventative preventative actions as newly eligible residents receive vaccinations. Next slide, please. In the subsequent slides, you'll see the trend over the past year from March 2020 until now in hospitalizations, positive cases. See if it'll come up. It looks like it froze.
While you're on the
Yes, sir.
hospitalization, just a real quick question.
Sure.
It's been one hospitalized for quite some time, or for some time. So is that do you know if that's the same individual and they're in their extended period, or that one has been replaced by another one?
There was, I think maybe early to mid last week, there was a new admission that one was discharged and one was admitted. We do get the graph from the hospital that does show if it was a new admission, COVID-19, and then if they were then hospitalized.
I wondered if it might have
Yep.
two individuals, but that one replaced the other. Yeah.
If I recall correctly, yes. I just don't remember the specific date of like when it switched over. I do believe it did recently switch
Okay,
within the last week or so.
thank you for that response.
Sure. The number of those tested and positives are superimposed over the case count and then the positivity rate as well. And then next into our vaccination numbers. So the mass vaccination clinic has given 16,838 total COVID-19 vaccinations. Approximately 8,299 of those are total first doses, and 8,299 are second doses. The state is currently calculating 38.4% of Kansas have received a vaccine thus far. That is a first dose vaccine is what the state tracks. Yes, so we are primarily doing Moderna. Today we have Pfizer still from last week from some of the outreach events that we had Pfizer coming in for. And then Tuesday and Wednesday this week we'll be resuming Johnson & Johnson. And I'll talk about Johnson & Johnson here next. CDC in the U.S. Food and Drug Administration recommended the use of the Johnson & Johnson Janssen vaccine to resume in the United States after a temporary pause. Reports of adverse events following the use of J&J Janssen vaccine suggest an increase of a rare adverse event called thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. Nearly all reports of this serious condition, which involves blood clots and low platelets, have been in adult women younger than 50 years old. The pause allowed CDC to communicate with healthcare providers and reemphasize the importance of reporting severe events in people who have received this vaccine, as well as how to report such events. The pause also gave experts time to carefully review all available data and conduct a brief benefit analysis around the use of the vaccine. A review of all available data at this time shows that the J&J Janssen COVID-19 vaccine's known and potential benefits outweigh its known and potential risks. However, women younger than 50 years old especially should be aware of the rare but increased risk of the adverse event, and that there are COVID-19 vaccine options available for which this risk has not been seen. We'll be resuming administration of the Janssen vaccine at the health department this week, and we'll be offering it on Tuesday and Wednesday along with Moderna. Thank you for the overwhelming support as we continue to vaccinate residents as quickly as possible. We encourage our residents who have not been vaccinated to schedule an appointment or come to the mass vaccination clinic during our walk-in hours to receive a vaccine. We have moved all of our operations back to the health department and have coordinated a drive-up method for those receiving vaccinations via appointment and then walk-in. So it's a walk-in, but it's actually a drive-up into those numbered slots. Individuals receiving the vaccine will park on the east or south side of our building, and a staff member will come out to administer the vaccine. For COVID-19 vaccines given at Finney County Health Department, patients will remain in their vehicle for the duration of the vaccine and the 15-minute observation period. Time for vaccine appointments and walk-ins will be available and posted each Friday for the following week. Here you can see on this graphic our availability for Monday through Friday this week for the times that we are doing appointments, and then what vaccines we're offering each day, and then the vaccine walk-in, so no appointment required. The hours to then come in and visit for no appointment required to then receive a vaccine. We shortened the walk-in hours there towards the end of the day because that's allowing us to commit all of the doses in a vial so that we don't have several wasted doses by the end of the day. So we're really trying to gauge that. We have less and less people signing up for a wait list or onto our online enrollment form. So it's less and less people that we're able to then access to move to then use those vials up by each day. So we're really trying to still be conservative in that approach so that we don't waste. We want to encourage people to continue to practice preventative actions until we still continue having eligible residents receive vaccines. So continue practicing social distancing, wear a mask face in public spaces, a mask face, wow, a face mask. Mask face, there you go, guys. It's a new one. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds and regularly sanitize frequently used items. We're incredibly grateful for our county and community partners. Thank you so much for your time and continued support. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
The serum of the vaccinations come, Moderna was, as I recall, 6 to a vial, 6 vaccinations?
Yes, so Moderna is actually 10 per vial, Pfizer is 6 per vial, and then Johnson & Johnson is typically 5 per vial.
As the vaccination season, if you will, winds down, are they considering repackaging that into smaller packages so you don't have to worry so much at the end of the day?
There has been a significant number of requests for that. So far, that announcement hasn't come from the state. In fact, it appears that Moderna is going to be going to 15-dose vials, so a little bit opposite of what we are wanting. But the state is becoming a little more lenient on some of those wasting of doses at the end of the day. Still discouraged, but we're making every effort possible to get those vaccines in arms instead of wasting. It just makes it difficult when there's that many large numbers. So there will be coming out that you can either request 15 or 10 dosed vials.
And then my final question, at this point anyway, is last, I don't know, maybe Tuesday, I drove by your facility and your parking lot looked to be busy.
Yes.
But I don't know how many of those people were there to see the clinic or were there to receive a vaccination. Kind of had a mixture, it looked like, on the parking lot.
If they're in the numbered stalls on the south and east side of the building, it was vaccine, and then we still have our public parking on the other sides. It's been pretty busy, so there's been a lot of movement throughout the parking lot, and so it's been good. Numbers, it looks like, are trailing off this week. We're starting into the weeks where there were less first doses 4 weeks ago. So we're seeing some of those taper off, expecting lower numbers this week, but we'll see how it goes.
All right. On.
Mr. Chairman, Colleen, on the vaccinations, it's my understanding from everything that you've been saying, including today, that the person gets the choice of Moderna, J&J, or Pfizer if you have those vials available. Is that correct?
Yes.
But if they come in and say, I don't care, is your recommendation always toward Moderna? Or how do you decide if somebody, I don't care? Yeah.
Sure. So we've worked with staff on kind of training them on how that response is. It's very quick to say, oh, this is the best one, or oh, this is the most consistent, or oh, most people get this one. What we should be doing is offering the fact sheet for all 3 of the vaccines. So depending on what we have that day, here's the fact sheet. Any COVID vaccine that you can receive is a good one, but you can make the decision of what best fits your needs. So here's the fact sheet for your reference.
That's very logical. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Bill?
Yes, thank you, Colleen, for your work and for the briefing today. I did have a request from a citizen about approximately the percentage of Finney County residents that have had vaccination.
Sure. So looking at overall number of vaccines, I think we're somewhere around that 55% range of at least first doses. There's still a lot of, so that's also looking at how many of those first doses are Johnson & Johnson vaccine, so the 1 dose versus the 2nd dose, but also pulling out our younger than 16 age range. I believe that we're calculating above that 50% range. That's even without Centura's numbers, Walgreens, Dillon's, and then all of the Walgreens contractors that did all the the long-term care facilities too. So percentage-wise, we should be pretty high.
Yeah, I spoke to a physician at Centura last week, and they abandoned giving vaccinations because you were doing it so well. So, and they were having the same issue with open bottles and
Yep.
no shows. So thanks for that number. Are you aware of the outbreak now in Kansas City? Have you seen any information on that?
I haven't been monitoring it. The most recent that I saw out of the eastern side of the state was that Johnson County removed their mask mandate. But I haven't seen anything about the update in Kansas City.
Yeah, there was one report of KU having to open a second ICU and St. Luke's having unprecedented hospitalizations. Interestingly, it was mainly in 30 to 50-year-olds who were unvaccinated. So these are folks who are gathering and sharing the virus and not protected. So I think things seem to come in waves east to west in the state, so just a heads up. Finally, I think we'll see the FDA action on vaccines for 12 to 15-year-olds. So any plans when we get the wave of kids in?
Continuing to monitor what our current utilization of adults are, and then tailoring our response around number of interested individuals. Last week on Friday, we did go to the high school, and we did offer Pfizer vaccinations at the high school on Friday from 1 to 4, and we did vaccinate 81 there. So that was a pretty good response, but we'll continue to do outreach events in that method and just continue to gauge the response and adapt. So.
Oh, I appreciate that. My son was one of the ones getting his second after the first at East Garden Village. So I think that outreach is very effective. But do you anticipate kids staying in the cars for their vaccinations?
No, we're currently evaluating operations to see what we can do to help create more inefficiency logistically. So I'm not really too sure on specifics of what long-term vaccination will look like at the clinic, but we're looking at it, trying to gauge what the best response is. We have had some that have come through with, the bus stop or other transportation methods, and they are able to come into the clinic to receive a vaccine. A lot of that will just depend on amount of space that we have, as you know, that we're bursting at the seams at the current health department. So it makes it difficult to tailor our logistical operations to move through even 80 to 100 a day. During the summers, we do move through typically, we can get upwards of 125 through our walk-in clinic with vaccinations and back to school physicals and such. But with social distancing standards, it makes it a little bit more difficult to utilize our space that we currently have. But we are trying to work on it as efficiently as possible.
Thank you.
A couple questions, Colleen. People talk to me about their response to the vaccine, from doesn't affect them to they're in bed for 3 days. Do you guys track any of those type of outcomes, or do you hear back from patients on that?
Oh yeah, we've heard a range of symptom sets from, nothing to 4 to 5 days, or, I had nothing for 3 or 4 days after, and then I got really sick for 3 or 4 days, and then I was fine. We hear that wide range. Anything outside of that typical expected symptom set, We do encourage the VAERS report, and then we've filled out several VAERS report on behalf of our community citizens or those that we've vaccinated. You never know how it's going to impact each person, so.
But it doesn't, it's not specific to one vaccine over the other.
Nope.
Also, have you thought about if you're running out of space, moving back to the exhibition building, or?
Sure. I think that's definitely up for discussion. When I last talked to Fairgrounds and Public Works, told them that, we'll continue to gauge it, and if we need to come back and utilize some sort of building or method, that we'll be working together to kind of define that.
Would the meeting room under the grandstand provide you enough space, or is it too confined?
It could, if we did a indoor process, 4-H building may actually be a better location for traffic to go through, just because you don't have to work with the steps and such. We could always do the West Pavilion if we really wanted to do the drive-through. We would just have to work out the observation period component on the other side. But the big thing is not having employees out in the elements. Summer, as you know, gets extraordinarily hot. West Pavilion is not air-conditioned. And I mean, we had a lot of heat exhaustion days last year when we were out there just doing testing, and we stopped and moved operations, mid-June back to health department. So finding an indoor method would be the best all around, and we're really gonna have to work on that, on what that operation will look like. The benefit of that is we've done it once before, so, we can do it again. So there's some minor tweaks to each time we redo a process, so it works well.
Yesterday or the day before on the news, they were reporting that, I think it was Moderna, had now been tested 100% effective for 12-year-olds. It would kind of lead one to believe that some of these days CDC is going to say, okay, Finney County, let's open her up for 10, 11, 12-year-olds on up. You see that coming?
I do. I would anticipate hopefully within the next month that we would see that.
Okay.
We're unsure because it still has to pass the EUA, so emergency use authorization. So we'll see, but it should be on the brink.
You're going to be busy for a long time.
I won't complain about that. Stay busy.
Mr. Chairman, mine are not questions from this point. I have 3 comments. One, Colleen already alluded to, Riley County and Johnson County did do away with their mask mandates last Thursday, or last week. I know Johnson County was Thursday. And Wyandotte and Douglas County are the only 2 counties in Kansas that now have countywide mask mandates. There may still be some in some cities, in some communities, but countywide. Secondly, I just heard on the radio this morning that there's a 27% difference between they didn't say any counties or anything, but between a rural county vaccination rate and an urban county vaccination rate. In Kansas, there's 27% variance between the low and the high. And then thirdly, I would like to have us revisit the fairgrounds capacity numbers next meeting, Mr. Chairman, if it's agreeable with enough of the other commissioners heading into summer, and much of that at the fairgrounds is outdoors and so forth. I don't have any recommendation or anything today, but I know we left it up to this board on what we do, and I would ask that we have that up for consideration next meeting.
We've tended to follow USD 457 to some extent, and they just, today.
Today went to level
Today
2.
just, went to phase 2, I believe. Is that
Level
correct?
2, yes.
Level 2, yeah.
Level 2.
Yep.
Anything else for?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very, very much, and keep up the good work. We all are proud and pleased to know you. You do a good job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We also have Tim Dowdy. He's our wellness navigator. He's here to provide you a brief update on wellness program and a couple of the initiatives too.
Hiding back there. Come forward, please. Welcome.
Good morning. Yeah, so like Colleen said, I kind of just wanted to give you an update on some things that we've been able to accomplish this year, and kind of some things that we're working on in the wellness program this year. So just a little update. One thing that we recently started doing is providing one-on-one fitness sessions down at the employee gym for employees to participate in. That's going fairly well. We've had a good response of employees sign up to do that. What we do in those sessions is it starts with a consultation to kind of figure out their needs and you know, how to accommodate their needs and how we reach their goals. And then a program is developed, and we work on things like injury prevention, strength training, flexibility, you know, a lot of the different areas of physical fitness, and we do that down in the gym. I will say that a lot of the employees that have participated so far in the one-on-one sessions, usually their main goal isn't necessarily weight loss and things like that. You know, that's usually a secondary goal for a lot of the people that I've seen so far. Their main goal is typically just to feel better and feel more capable of performing their work throughout the day, just to feel better, look better, things like that. So, but overall, those have been going really well, and we'll continue to offer those one-on-one sessions. Another thing that we've been working on this year is we partnered with LiveWell to do some stroke education and prevention, you know, educate employees on preventing certain serious health conditions, you know, stroke, heart disease, diabetes, things like that. And part of that process is acquiring blood pressure machines. So one thing that we've been able to do is get some blood pressure machines that we will have stationed throughout the county facilities for employees to utilize on a regular basis so that they can monitor their blood pressure. You know, another piece to that is we're going to have, you know, myself, someone from LiveWell, and also Johanna from Employee Clinic go around and talk about the importance of monitoring your blood pressure, how to use the stations, and how often to use the stations, and how monitoring your blood pressure can help you improve your health and prevent things. So we'll have that going. We don't have the station set up just yet, but hopefully by midweek this week we'll have the blood pressure machines in and have those stations set up and begin our education process on some of that. Last week, so more recently, last week we had the Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas National Walk at Lunch Day. We held our event over at Harold Long Park, and that event is just meant to encourage you know, people to get up and move throughout the day, you know, remind people about the many health benefits of walking regularly. We had some water bottles out at the park for the people that showed up, and everyone that showed up walked and had a fun time. I would like to take this opportunity, though, to recognize a few of those employees that showed up to the Walk at Lunch Day. These employees have shown dedication to improving their health through their participation in the wellness program, and also setting a good example for other employees to do the same. Those employees are Melissa Villanueva, Kathy Evans, Omar Angelis, Jessica Mueller, and Amber Dunlap. So like I said, all those employees have you know, shown a lot of dedication to participation in the wellness program and the continuing, you know, improvement of their health and encouraging other their coworkers to do the same. So for the next thing coming up, so this is kind of an invitation to you guys as well, but coming up we have the Fico Fit challenge. So this is a challenge that was put together by our wellness committee for the employees. It's a wellness challenge that places an emphasis on developing healthy habits in the areas of nutrition, physical activity, and mental wellness. It is a team challenge, so employees get together teams of 5 and participate in this and try to establish, those healthy habits, like I said, and the teams compete against each other. And so there's an aspect of accountability that goes along with this challenge that you get from your teammates. Teams of 5, like I said, so that starts in about a month, and it looks like you guys have 5 already set up, so I invite you guys to participate in the challenge as well. And that's all that I have today for you. Any questions?
Questions, guys?
Not a question, but I just want to offer a word of encouragement. I'm a walker, jogger, and there's no question that makes you feel better through the day. But I've said this to Colleen several months back, I think it's part of our job, whether it be just our employees or the public, that we do education, that we help them understand the benefits of health for fighting off the next virus that we're going to see someday down the road. So I really appreciate what you're doing with our county employees, and of course Colleen's working with the public, and
Sure.
but so much of it is, understanding what certain things will do to help them fight off viruses and help them live a better life, as you've already stated. So
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I see that it is about 6 minutes till 10. And I sense that Dwayne needs a break. And so why don't we take a break of 10 minutes, and then at 5 after 10, go into executive session, non-elected personnel, again with the county commission. Oh, okay. We'll come back in 10 minutes. Let's take a break. You're persuasive. So, all right, thank you.
that's how he herds his cattle out there, too. problem with the swimming pools.
All right, if we can come back into session, we have an agenda item, sale of real property, seal bid opening, Robert Reese, County Administrator. Says you have sealed bids.
And we accepted bids for approximately 4 weeks. And we have received 5 bids, I believe, on the building on 8th Street. 3, say it again?
Yeah,
Linda has them.
I have three bids on 8th Street, which is parcel 3, 1 bid on parcel 2, the Pennsylvania address, and 4 bids on the 11th Street parcel.
All right.
So-
She'll open them and read them. We'll put them up on the screen for everybody.
Okay, we'll begin with parcel 1, which is 1206 North 11th Street.
Look out there, Robert.
Okay, the first bid is from J&J Construction. Their bid is $7,500. The owner of J&J is Art Contreras. $7,500. From Stephanie Shockley, she submitted a bid of $1,000 for the 11th Street property. From Marco Reta, that's spelled R-E-T-A, the amount of $7,500. And then finally, from Robert Lee, he has submitted a bid of $17,500.
Just bought this property.
You want a motion on this, Mr. Chairman?
We can take these one at a time, yes. Motion would be appropriate.
I move that we accept the high bid from Robert Lee for $17,500 for the 1206 North 11th.
Second?
Second?
Commissioners, that should be subject to a contract, a formal
Right.
contract with the,
Performance and financing, so.
Yep.
We understand. Get that, please, into the motion, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, parcel 2.
And for parcel 2, we only have one bid. That's the parcel located at 102 Pennsylvania Avenue. Sorry.
that borders the,
Is that the little triangle there by the railroad track?
Yes, sir. This is from Antonio Reta, R-E-T-A. He bids $200.
I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the high bid.
$200 and with the same stipulation.
Same
on
stipulation.
fencing and so on.
Second.
You have a motion and second, discussion?
Give the second to Dwayne.
Was this an adjacent property owner, or do we have any idea?
That name is not familiar from my list of adjacent property owners. I'm not certain. I'd have to double check myself. Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That
Aye.
Consent, that passes.
Okay. And for parcel 3, the 805 North 8th Street.
This is the person here.
Yeah, what's the name? I can't read it.
Looks like Pam Carlson.
It could be Ron
Ron
Carlson.
Carlson,
Okay,
Ron
thank you.
Carlson,
Sorry,
okay.
Ron. Ron Carlson bids $35,791.35. Apparently, I'm not great with the letter opener. The next bid comes from High Plains Housing Development. And they submit a bid of $1,000.
At the end of your bids,
No, I have one more, sorry. I was just making sure I keep the bid with the envelope. Let's see if I do better with this last one. Nope.
You can put this on your resume now.
I'll just go old school on that one. Thank you. And our final bid comes from Claudia Paez, Paez, and she bids $75,000.
that's a lot better than I would have thought. Okay, motion?
That concludes the bids, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we accept the high bid based on criteria of financials and so forth of $75,000 for the 8th Street property.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have 2 seconds, so Dwayne, second. Any discussion?
Well, I know we had some thoughts that maybe we would give some consideration to a local nonprofit, but with this disparity in bids, I can't support that any longer. So if it was close, I think we would have to give some thought to that, but I think we should go with the high bid.
Okay. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And we'd ask our county council to preserve the bids and advise us if there are any problems, okay?
Yes.
Thank you. On the agenda is board governance. I have an item I want to bring forward, but before I do that, does anyone else have anything for board governance that they'd like to discuss?
Just a comment, today starts the veto session, or the last week or so of the legislative session, and so we're keeping an eye on what the legislature's gonna do with, there were 7 or 8 bills that vetoed, and 18 or 19 line items vetoed in the budget, so it's gonna be an interesting week or so.
Robert already has one. What I'm passing out, Robert has his. Last week, Robert shared this, I think it was when we were at the KDOT meeting, probably with all of you, and asked for some input. I sat down and drafted my version of a fact sheet. Anybody else need one? I have one extra here. My facts here may be off just a little bit, but But please read that and see if you agree with the gist of the fact sheet for us point to speak to as we go from group to group. And the mills, we think that the property tax quarter cent represents about 2.2 county mills. The city, somewhere close to 4.4, but that may have gone up a bit. And the city of Holcomb, we don't know exactly, but about 6.2 mils. So what I did was I took a $100,000 house at 11.5% appraised value. So a mill on that house being $11.50, and then simply multiplied that $11.50 by the number of mills that the sales tax represents. Those in the county, of course, just have the county tax, but those in the city of Garden City have both the county and the city of Garden City. So that's an accumulation that brings that up to the $75.90 per year on a $100,000 house. And the ones in Holcomb have an even bigger bite because of not only the Holcomb mill, but also the county mill levy added to it. So your thoughts, and we need to kind of finalize whatever documents we're going to hand out. Robert, you were going to meet with Matt Allen after we handed this out.
Give you a brief update on that. We did meet last week, actually last Thursday, both Rob and Matt, myself. They had the document. In essence, it's similar instruction to what you went through in 19. So some of it we'll be able to utilize within this next informational pamphlet. And we had planned on, they're taking that back. We'll plan on getting back together later on this week with their additional input. I know that Robin from the city of Holcomb also asked if we would be interested in coming and speaking to their city council there once we get this finalized. So hopefully within a week, two at the very most, we'll have this pamphlet. This was something that was generated from our GIS department, and so we can kind of freshen that up and move forward with it if that's the direction of the board, if you're comfortable with that.
Do we have any more of those? I did not receive one Thursday. Do we have any more of those? Thank you.
Our time is fast growing to a close here to get the word out. If this will be on the ballot in early August, the calendar is running short. So what are your thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, Mike, I appreciate your fact sheet, but the one exception I would have to it is we need to emphasize that this is not a new tax. In some way, we need to put that as the headline, that this is a renewal or this will save you money on your mill levy or something, that we need to really emphasize that part of the tax. Because, people say tax and initially they always say, oh, this is something new that they're putting on them.
And a phrase that we used in a little work session, and it's been said here a couple times, is property tax stabilization is really kind of the theme of this one for the extension, and you're absolutely right. We've got to make sure that people fully understand it's an extension, not new.
The last renewal, we had a handful of citizen volunteers who kind of helped us get the word out. And along that line, I visited with one citizen volunteer who said that with with the board's permission or blessing, he would be happy to try to help. And that's one Jim Douglas, DB Douglas Roofing, a former city commissioner and so on, but who's an advocate in the, of the sales tax proposal over property tax, so. We need our committee folks, whatever, to be formed and to get the brochures and things out, so.
And Mr. Chairman, the other, and I brought this question up last time, and I don't have any recommendation one way or the other, but the average home sale is $207,000 in Finney County, most recent by Multilist. And yet, we're equating this, and I know even Robert had done this earlier in his presentation to us, to a $100,000 home. Should we, in our presentation, be relating it to a $200,000 home, which would just simply double some of this stuff, or should we leave it at a $100,000 home? I just think we need to discuss that just briefly.
Vaughn, you bring up a good point, but I had 3 people say, tell me, what is a mill? Well, that's easy. A $100,000 house is assessed by state law at 11.5%.
Right.
So $11.50 on that $100,000 appraised house is 1 mil. Oh, that makes sense. So that's why I put that in here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's logic to that as well, but when we're trying to tell them how much most people are living in a $200,000 home. So, again, I don't have a recommendation one or the other. I don't have a recommendation one way or the other, but I just think we need to be on the same page.
And then service clubs, Bill and I happen to belong to Rotary, and it's been shut down due to COVID, but kind of trying to reconstitute itself. And a new program director, if you will, stepped forward and sent out a list of names with program assignments. I called her and said, unfortunately, some of the names on there are now deceased. So we need to get that up to date, but also that Bill or I, one or the other, would ask for some Rotary time between now and probably the middle part of July to go over this sales tax initiative, so. But we need to start approaching service clubs and the senior center and so on with a presentation.
And one thing that you just referenced, Mr. Chairman, in your mid-July is timely, but we need to make sure that these presentations are done before early voting, which starts around mid-July.
Yeah, that's correct, so. Okay, Bill?
So, for Robert, I guess, will the GIS produce this trifold for us, or the city will do it, or?
Yes, so we can make changes to that and push them out for your review and so forth. Yes, they did produce that.
Okay, and was the city talking about a PowerPoint or any kind of presentation regarding this?
Yes, they're talking about doing their own informational trifold as well. It'll be similar to what we will be putting out. Also, I'm not certain on the PowerPoint on what they've decided on that. Once again, we just spoke on late Thursday morning, and then we'll get back together this week to begin the process of trying to finalize the data and information.
Okay.
One of the important groups that we need to get before is the Chamber of Commerce. And I would turn probably to Lon, and since you're a chamber member, would you mind making plans with the chamber to present our sales tax?
Yeah, we can do that their third Wednesday. We'll make sure we get it on one of their breakfasts coming up.
Okay. All right, anything else here in?
Or both, yeah.
At this point in time in the board governance? Well, we still have one more quick executive session. So I would accept a motion for a 15-minute executive session, non-elected personnel, to include the board, our county administrator, and county council. We can go longer if you want. 30 minutes, bringing us back here at about 5 minutes before 11. Okay, is
I'll second.
that a motion? Yes. There's a second? Aye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Did you get a second written down?
Bill.
Bill. Bill,
I was voting,
yeah. You're ahead of us. Okay. executive session, no action taken. Now, let me look at my agenda. Where are we? We're ready for the county administrator's report. So, Robert?
Dory, I sent to you some stuff that, there we go. Yes, he is. Sunset Terrace Estates. Received a phone call that I need to return to Darren George on this project. If you are unaware, they are proposing a first phase of 55 homes in this. They'll be connecting to the sewer just south of there that is being assessed. What I have requested was to have a traffic and road impact study done for this project. As you're probably well aware, the standard for quick calculating the trips per day per household is 7 trips per day per household. First phase 55 so we're right around 400 trips a day impact in that area. What my concern is that we make sure that the roads will take that type of traffic for that first phase and future phases as well. So that is what I am suggesting we do in this situation. So I'm looking for your comments and feedback on that as well then. Are you comfortable with me requesting that impact study so we know that the roads, one could handle it, or if they do not handle it, then those improvements can be wrapped into the development. It is, he's getting funding through the RHID program. Correct.
And that's allowing traffic out of that proposed development all in one?
Correct.
Turned it off and then, yeah, I forgot. Thank you for reminding me. This is right north of our Towns Riverview subdivision, and Allen Drive that you can see down at the bottom of that outlined is part of Towns Riverview. That's one of our roads, and houses facing that are in Towns Riverview. What they have proposed and what the homeowners are very concerned about is if you then go up to, on Towns Road, go up to the far northeast corner, there's an entrance that you see right there. That's the only entrance that they're talking about making for this subdivision. If you go down Towns Road, right about, well, up just about 4 houses, there's a field road that could be made into another entrance. Oh, and it's not that far up, I guess. It's right there. And it would could tie into that other street, but it would eliminate one of their houses, or maybe 2. But we would, the homeowners association has very specifically asked that they consider putting a second entrance in onto Towns Road, because then go along Allen Drive, Adam, right to your left, right there, the first one.
Zig.
They're wanting to feed the traffic into our subdivision from this city annexed subdivision. And there's a house right there by the cursor that's going to be fielding, have all that traffic coming from that subdivision if they come out that way. Then if you go along left there, that one, and then one more over, they've got 2 more entrances that they would make into our subdivision that initially they would block off with temporary barricades, but for future development, if it got to be heavily traveled, they want to dump that traffic into our subdivision as well, especially where the cursor is there now. You can see how that's platted in or drawn in with those striped streets. to dump that traffic into town's Riverview. So there's huge concerns of our homeowners that not only this first 55 houses, but the ones in the future are gonna dump traffic into our subdivision, and we've got kids riding bicycles and all the other things, in addition to the traffic count on Towns Road. And the county does, just like it does in Southwind, does maintain our subdivision roads with paving and not paving, sealing and all the other things that go along with that. So, yeah, it's, and I feel somewhat responsible because I helped the developer pick out this piece of property, but never in my wildest dreams did I think they wouldn't have two entrances on the town's road and keep it as a separate subdivision, not joining the two subdivisions together and dumping traffic into a subdivision that's been in place for 40-plus years. So the one clear over to the right again, Adam, and then that street right there, that's the one that they're proposing be the second entrance into the new subdivision, and it would dump right into us on, I think that's Ginger. I can't remember what I don't know what the name of that little street piece is. Maybe it's still Allen. It might still be. Yeah, go straight up right there, right, just one row of houses next to the cemetery property and then an entrance. But we were suggesting that there be a second one down there, right there. But they put a house in there and instead of putting an entrance there.
But if they did that, they could just close off those other two and get that housing lot back, right? Backing on Allen.
I think they could too.
You close
yes.
the two Allen exits and then
that's
you
what-
have to straight out to
And that's what our
farmland.
HOA has been arguing through this whole conversation, is just move those two houses somewhere else and, put that in. And that second entrance, that field entrance, is on a little bit of a hill, and the main entrance to our subdivision is down in a valley. So we think it'd even be a safer entrance anyhow.
I could see for future development where they might want that far west access off Allen.
But see, really, that doesn't do anything different than if they put that second entrance in on Towns Road as far as, number of cars and things like that. But so the sewer district has been an issue, and I understood you to say that you're still working on that agreement with the city. Is that right?
It's in essence an analysis of what improvements need to be made to that district to accommodate.
Because right now, our sewer district would not even handle another house, let alone another 55 houses. We thought they were gonna run a line right down to Mansfield and dump into the city's line, but that's not what they're proposing. And so Sewer District 3 is trying to get that figured out so we're not burdening our current Sewer District 3 members. And then secondly is the traffic, and we had no idea they were gonna try to dump traffic into our subdivision when this all started.
Well, that's a far bigger development than 55 houses, is it not?
No, the first phase would
Oh,
be the houses that are immediately adjacent to the Allen.
I see.
Drive
Right,
area.
exactly. Because that's where the utilities are gonna be coming from the west, clear over to the west as the utility poles are there. The city put new ones in just recently. The city water is to that southwest corner, and the city electric is that southwest corner. So, yeah, they're wanting to put in those utilities and build that first phase of houses.
How long before that becomes part of the city?
Well, it already is. It's already annexed into the city. Ours is not, and we don't anticipate it will be. I mean, it could, because if they annex ours in, they'll have to annex the mobile homes in, and we don't think they'll do that.
So my ask today is to make certain that you're comfortable with me requiring, if you will, that traffic study for this. Because he is, from what I understand, is going to request that we waive it for this first phase. And
I think we
My
need,
suggestion is that you do it up front.
and I think we need to do that. Negotiation tool would be move a couple houses and put a second entrance in, and maybe we'll consider waiving. Yeah, I think it's just logical.
For that size of development on those two roads, I think it's important just to make sure that, one, if you can capture the expense of doing any improvements within that RHID, then I suggest you try and accommodate that right up front.
What price range are they talking? These would have to be medium-range houses.
Around 200,000. I think the minimum square footage for his subdivision is supposed to be 1,100 square feet, which is the same for our subdivision. That's the minimum square footage. Well, at least that's what I was told a couple years ago when this was in discussion.
So do you have the concerns that are shared by the commission down so that you're, okay?
Yep, I'm comfortable with that. So I'll move forward in that regards. I do need to, also in another topic, contact Steve, I think the last name, Dory Cottrell. From Economic Development, apparently they are writing a grant, may have to do with a bicycle route. They're wanting to utilize our SAM's number. You traditionally are uncomfortable providing SAM's and DUNS numbers to outside agencies, so I just want to get a better understanding of the project to understand the mechanics of how this would work.
So I've worked on the bike project in the past years with John Ellerman, our former engineer. We went forward twice and were rejected twice. Steve Cottrell, as the former city engineer, has been very successful getting trail money for the city of Garden City. And in anticipation of the next phase going out of the city into the county, Steve, who's now employed with Economic Development, has been willing to write that essentially for us. So to me, it's fair that we would participate, at least as being the biller of record or the recipient. Is that why they need the SAM's number to receive a grant?
Yes, I'm trying to get I just need to contact him and get an understanding of what the roles are and the mechanics of it are.
But I would see us cooperating in that. 'Cause, I've been totally frustrated by the state, their resistance to doing this.
Other topic, did get contacted by the Strickline Communications about setting up a time to meet and get an update on the county, and I know that Commissioner Jones received a similar phone call, and so that I'll try and orchestrate a time and date that we can do that perhaps together and provide updates on what's going on in the county, and also begin that educational aspect of it on the sales tax initiative as well.
The conversation I had so many months ago,
This was about a week ago that he contacted me,
far more current than mine.
so, okay,
Steckline.
yes.
Their news director.
There's several stations in that group.
K-Buffs, but some sister stations still.
There's several stations in that group.
Would that be a special meeting then, or they would come to a
No, it would not be a special meeting. It would be something that perhaps
You wanted to know.
Commissioner Jones and,
Going to their station.
Yep.
Going to their station.
Yep. So I'll try and get that orchestrated, and then you and I can talk about how we can move
Yeah,
on.
I gave him all my contact information for nothing following, so.
Okay. All right, one thing that Linda and I will look at is the economic development request for $125,000 and the mechanics that go with providing a loan with public funds.
Well, and then keeping in mind too that we've committed funds for that farmland road.
Correct.
Does that request need to go by the city commission?
Which one is that?
We control the funds, I realize, but I'm talking about the 125,000.
I guess, yes, that probably would be appropriate. I'm trying to recall the makeup of that fund and the contributions made historically.
And I've got those in a file. Typically, the county puts in a little bit more than the city.
We put like 125 into their,
We have until the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That there's a proportionate share from both bodies. County and city.
In essence, potentially if this comes about, that this is something we can do, the agreement would be between the Board of County Commissioners and this
well, I would hope,
corporation, and you'd also have to have the county treasurer sign off on it as well, because it probably would be viewed as an investment.
I didn't ask this morning, but I'll bet Lana's on the city commission agenda for tomorrow.
I didn't see it on there.
It's not on there?
I didn't see it. I looked at their agenda over the weekend, but I didn't see it.
All right. Well, she wasn't on our agenda either. We added it late, real late.
Well, maybe, yeah, but it wasn't on the one they published. I didn't see it.
Okay. We already spoke about the sales tax pamphlet, and so we'll be working on that this week and pushing that back out to the commissioners, get a little bit of feedback. Hopefully we can finalize that really soon.
You know what? I looked all over for a picture of $100 bill with a quarter coming out of it. Can we find one of those? It probably sounds a little simplistic, but it exactly illustrates what we're asking the voters to consider.
Okay, yep. Yeah, it's 1/4%, so it's, yeah.
1/4% out of $100 bill is a quarter.
No, 25% is a quarter. Please don't do math in public.
Okay.
That's one thing,
Didn't make
that was
the
one of my rules that I established here, don't do math in public.
That's probably why I couldn't find that picture.
Last thing is, we spoke about a month back about trying to get a proposal on insurance. My inclination at this point in time is to not do that. You let me know. I think perhaps for this year, we'll let it go, and if that's something you want to consider in the future, based upon some recent feedback, then we'll do that.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Mr. Chairman, I certainly would not oppose that, but I guess one of the concerns that I have is what we, as a county, what our insurance agents as outside representatives and so forth are doing for loss mitigation. Because I think that one of our concerns has always been where are our losses compared to what other counties, what other governmental agencies might have, and what's that doing to limit our markets, for insurance, whether it be with K-Camp or independent agents or whatever. So I would just simply throw in there the addition, what are we doing to work on loss mitigation in the future, no matter what we do for the bidding process this year. And I know, one disclaimer, I know COVID, played a part in what we might have been able to do over this past year. I get that, but I think we've got to do our part as well as the insurance companies.
Okay, we'll follow up in that regards. I will tell you that I will request again this year a deductible for our workers' compensation. Traditionally, you don't see a great reduction in your workers' comp fee for coverage, but what it is a tool that can be utilized to help your mod rating, which in essence then could impact your future rates.
Good point.
Right?
That's it.
And that is it.
Before I ask for board reports, I just received a reply from Lana that the city does not require that we take, that request for the deal closing fund does not need to go to them. They authorize the county commission to act, so, good for Lana, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at the agenda on the screen and so forth. There was something referenced about a charter resolution. I haven't heard any discussion on that. Have we today?
No, you have not heard discussion on your charter resolution before you. You did have a draft copy of a charter resolution that,
I'm not seeing this on the screen, where,
Well, it was on it's on Robert's report. It's on the page that has Robert's report.
no,
It's on your screen, Dave.
okay, it's not on. All right, whatever we need to do with this, let's do it.
just as an update on this charter resolution, last year, about this time, actually, I believe in February, there was a charter resolution that identified two segments of the Public Works, one being the Public Works Director and one being the Engineering Department. You at that point had an engineer, you no longer do, in essence, based upon the prior charter resolution. Then that segment then would report directly to me. This draft that you have before you, in essence, provides me with a little bit more flexibility to assign certain segments within that to the leadership, both down in Public Works or through my office, based upon workflows and so on and so forth. So it just provides a little bit more flexibility for your consideration.
And Mr. Chairman, the thing that I was disappointed not to see was the current resolution in our packet with this new resolution, so that I could then look down through and see what the changes were. Because I mean, I hear what you're saying verbally, but I'm still not quite understanding what's been changed in this resolution from the one that we already have in existence.
Did we have a resolution, or were we just following state law that a county of our size and larger has to have a licensed engineer?
No, you can contract with, for that. So
But we had another resolution in place that
you
we
had another charter
passed as a
resolution
body.
in place, yeah, and so we can provide that to you.
So do we want to act on this today, or do you want to wait until next meeting and have that other resolution?
No, no.
So just table this or? Okay,
Second.
motion and second, discussion. All those in favor of tabling it till next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Tabled.
That is it?
Okay, that's it?
Yes.
Larry?
Only thing I've got to report is I attended the Development Annual Convention and received the thank you.
Okay, Bill?
Spoke at the Lions Club regarding vaccines, and attended the Economic Development meeting, the KDOT meeting, which you were at too.
I was at KDOT too.
I've had many calls, emails, contacts regarding the Highway 83 realignment. We have an HOA meeting tonight at Southwind. I'm sure it'll be a hot topic. And I was at the GOP convention with federal and state officials. That's all.
That's it? Well, you're falling down here for these reports. Lon?
Well, I've been at a couple of those meetings that have already been referenced, and then also the workforce board that I'm representing us on had a Zoom meeting Friday because of the need to hire, I guess, an operator, and that had to be in by the end of the day on Friday. and we chose the workforce investment. I can't think of the exact terminology now, but it'd be Deb Scheibler, and that group, and that's who was selected for the next 4 years. Well, renewal after each year for up to 4 years. So I think we're in good hands on the workforce board.
And the legislature are doing their thing today.
They started the veto session today, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know if they've had any overrides yet today, but it's going to be a tough battle for them because they're 3 or 4 votes short in the House and maybe even 5, and a vote or 2 short in the Senate on a couple of them. So we'll see how they come along.
Dwayne?
Pretty sure you guys developed it, KDOT, there's a lot of comments and questions about the KDOT meeting as well as well did. Another great claims meeting, and everything's moving forward as always. They're staying busy, a lot of applications in front of them, so folks are staying busy. And Bob is getting much better at running a Zoom meeting than he was 2 minutes ago.
That's it. I'm gonna briefly mention a couple of meetings or 3, and then a couple upcoming ones. The Savolts invited us out. I think Lon got an invitation too. But I went out and took a picture of the new mobile home that mother-in-law's, they had the whole crew out there putting that thing together, so if you'd like to see a picture, I have one. And there was a little gift on the side. We're gonna report that.
It's less than $50, so
Well,
we're okay.
It was legal, but it tasted good. It was chocolate chip cookies. Anyway, appreciate that whole family, the ideal family. Vicky Gurman got a hold of me and indicated an interest in the in the Economic Development Board, and she was at their annual meeting, so they're aware of that. Leonard Hitz had a question, and I thank Dory for coming out of weekend duties to help me with an answer. Leonard had heard somewhere from somebody that the application deadline for the Board of College Trustees ended on May 1. And somewhere else he'd heard it was June something or other. So anyway, I've responded to him, but incorporated her that May 1 was the time limit for their secretary of their board to say, these are the vacancies we have to be placed on the ballot. And the filing deadline actually was noon on the 15th of June 1st. And so we got, I appreciate Dory coming to my rescue and agreeing with what I was telling him. Finney County Committee on Aging meeting, kind of a typical meeting. They're looking forward to a little bit of help if we can come up with it somehow out of Sparks type funding to help them finish their computer hookup. One of our computer people, Carlos, is telling them, put that in the budget here, but also ask for it as a grant. What he told them was probably pretty good information, but anyway, they're waiting. They did approve a request, a budget request while I was there. KDOT meeting and Keller-Leopold meeting's been mentioned. Now I want to tell you about 2 upcoming meetings right quick. Today at 2 o'clock, if anybody's interested, at City Hall, I think Dwayne is going to accompany me, but that's the meeting with the tax committee on the sales tax collection for Jenny Barker Road and the zoo and all of those sort of things. So we'll get an update there. And then Thursday at 12 noon for a 45-minute period in Stevens Park, there are about 7 churches that I've heard of so far that are joining together in a period of prayer for the city of Garden City and for Finney County. And they've asked for public officials representing the city and the county to come and be present. So if your schedule allows from 12 noon to 12:45, May 6th, Thursday at Stevens Park, they'd appreciate it. Now, Is there anything else to come to the attention of the commission? If not, then until May 17, we are adjourned.